Episode 5.
Episode 5, we did it.
Welcome back to the
hand.
tasting room. A whole hand.
We did it. Yay. We can high five now.
That was a lot of fun. Nick Corcoran from, he told me just to say his name. I always thought it was Corcoran, right? And then I was looking at his name for the first time.
Oh, I actually, when I announced him, I didn't say
you
his
just
last
said
name.
Nick. You were smart because it's really hard to pronounce because it's C-O-R and then like Corinne or whatever. And so back at the restaurant, he was like, so Nick is our guest. He runs High Dive, which is Korean-inspired barbecue. Fucking delicious. You'll see some of the food we ate. But he was like, just say Cor and then
Corcoran.
Yeah. So that's how you say it. He said just blur the rest of it. But yeah. But he's our guest for episode 5. Really good talk and good food and some special beer.
Yeah. Really fun to just hang out with a friend, get to see a more in-depth view of what he thinks, one, his story.
Yeah, great story.
But two, really what he defined as why Tulsa is going where it is, but also what is keeping us from where we're going.
There you go. Yeah, and I didn't get heated. Heated is the wrong word, but I took exception to that.
Right. Yeah.
I think as I should.
100%.
100%.
Yeah.
You guys will see what we're talking about after the break. Nick Corcoran coming up after the break.
Thank you very much.
Hey, I'm John. I'm one of the partners here at Grassfire Creative. We are a production company. We do animation, video production, live production, anything you need to creatively tell both your story and your business's story. Along with the content that we create, we also provide the strategy behind how to get it in front of the eyeballs that matter to you. We're located right in the middle of the United States in Tulsa, Oklahoma, so no matter where you are, we're just a short flight away. Bottom line is we are very excited to both meet you and tell your business's story. Please do reach out to us one of the ways below via email or phone number and check out more about us at our website, grassfirecreative.com.
Welcome back to the tasting room. Thank you for listening, everyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So today we have a wonderful guest that is going to fill our bellies with a lot of really good tasting stuff. I can already smell it. His name is Nick, and he is from High Dive.
Howdy, guys.
What's going on, brother?
Doing well about yourself.
I'm doing well. So for those that don't know, if you haven't been to Grassfire, or you've probably been to High Dive, but you haven't noticed Grassfire, we're legit neighbors.
About as close as you can get.
About as close as you can get, yes.
So what's lunchtime like over here?
So I have to, I don't know, I haven't told you this story, but I have to consciously make a choice to not come to High Dive every day for lunch.
I believe that.
It's a thing. It's like
that.
I let myself like 3-4 times a month. It's like, okay, let's go eat High Dive. Because if not, just walk out the door and it's right there. I mean
it's right there and it's decadent.
Yes,
I mean,
so good.
It smoked meats and fats and it's all really, really good and it's something you can eat every day, but honestly, no grown human should.
Coming from a barbecue guy,
please eat my food.
Right.
Please come there as often as you possibly can, but meat's meat. Get some veggies in there.
So we'll start with some bourbon. I'll open this up. I'll go ahead and ask the first question as I'm doing that.
Right on.
Take me on your culinary journey. So how did you end up cutting meats and slinging barbecue and all that? How'd you get there?
It's a fair question. So growing up, I've had Hasty Bakes in my backyard my entire life. My dad
shout out.
Yep, shout out Hasty Bake. My dad had an offset smoker. He would work nights. He was a respiratory therapist who really enjoyed cooking, had a lot of fun cooking. And whenever he had nights off, he would just sit up in the kitchen and drink rum and cook for like 10 to 12 hours. That's what he spent his day on. He had a really huge, nice analog sound system in the house. He would pump that up as loud as, like, he had it marked on the actual mixer how loud he could get it without it hitting the bedrooms. So he would crank it as loud as he could and just drink rum and listen to music and cook. And
that's really cool.
We'd wake up the next morning and all this food, it was like meal prep Sunday type stuff. All this food would be in Tupperware containers in the fridge, and there'd be a bucket full of dishes in the sink. You'd be like, do the fucking dishes when you get done from school, enjoy your dinner. If you guys need anything, call me. And you'd head off to work. And that was my introduction to food.
Yeah.
My mom she was adventurous enough, but my dad was the type who would drive to any strip center in Tulsa. The further from the house you can get, the better. And be like, hey, I found these gyros over here. You're coming with me. And I was kind of his food buddy.
Right on.
So I grew up kind of eating some, not necessarily obscure food, but, off the beaten path, letting people cook for you type stuff. And then doubly so, my neighbor 3 doors down, Graham Neckett was his name. His mom was Susan. She actually operated a commercial kitchen out of her house. She had a fully certified commercial kitchen. She was doing cakes, like Cake Boss type cakes. This is the mid 90s.
That's a skill set that
really
I
cool.
just admire.
Yeah,
people that can do cake boss cakes.
She was amazing. She was amazing. And her rule for cooking, like whenever you went over there for dinner, was if I put it in front of you, you eat it. You can spit it out. You can gag. You can make a face. But you try it.
Right.
And God forbid, maybe you'll find something that you like that you didn't think you'd like. I had shark at her house at one point in time. We were doing fondue shark.
Wow.
And I was like 7 years old eating that shit.
How did she get shark here?
That's a fantastic question.
Probably
You have to ask
Bodines.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
it's
but
probably- and-
Bodines.
what was the fondue? Do you remember the dip? What
No,
were you dipping shark in?
I was a child.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I was a child. We did some really crazy stuff at her house, and that's where I grew up eating. And it was every single night you sat down at the table, water or milk were your only options, and you ate whatever was in front of you, or you didn't. And if you didn't, you went back home and you ate whatever shit your parents gave you.
Yeah.
And that was kind of my introduction to food, cultivated my love for it. I wound up in restaurants because whenever I moved to OSU, went to school in Stillwater, go Pokes. Spent 6 years
Might be the best
there.
team in Oklahoma.
Don't say that out loud.
Cheers to that.
The worst thing an OSU fan can get is hope.
So bad. Unless they're on the golf team.
So bad, but true.
That's
or
the golf
point.
team. So moved off to Stillwater, and local dining hall. I was living in Scott Parker Wins, and they had one dining hall at the base floor that would pay you money. They would work around your schedule, and whatever schedule you handed them your class schedule, and they gave you a work schedule that lasted for the entire semester. So it was
cool.
spending money enough to get by. I was making $5.15 an hour because it was before the last pay raise, and it was enough to buy beer on the weekends and do whatever I needed to do and get gas to go home. And it was kind of my introduction to kitchen work. I had a lot of fun with it. That turned into working at Southern Hills as a busboy during the summer. Moved into wait staff at Southern Hills. And during the school year, I was working at OSU, summer working at Southern Hills. Did that till 2007, where I worked the 2007 PGA Open.
How cool.
Wound up.
I probably ate some of your food. I was there.
I was actually front of house then.
Wow.
I worked front of house for a very, very long time. So I was waiting tables. Actually wound up in the members tent. They trusted me enough. They put me in the members tent for the PGA Open. So worked the members tent through that. They offered me a spot working inside the members lounge, inside the actual club, because I was moving back to Tulsa at that point. Followed a girl here.
It happens.
It happens.
I followed a girl to Denver, so it happens. Yeah.
Followed her here. She was going to TU. I was going to TCC, just fucking off, working. Wound up working at Polo Grill front of house. Did that for about a year. And then decided I really enjoyed smoking weed and selling pizza, so I went to Hideaway.
Solid.
Nice.
I worked front of house at the one here on Cherry Street for about 9 months, moved that to Stillwater, and then the next 3 years of my life was spent working on campus as a soil science lab tech. And then the evenings I would go sell pizza at Hideaway, and I had way more fun at Hideaway. Ended up, that was around 2008, 2009 when the recession was hitting, and I was realizing I was working alongside people who had degrees and nothing to show for it because there was no work. And I was like, well, screw it. Let's see what happens. Went all in on restaurant, moved back to Tulsa. Also shout out to OSU. The last day I was in Stillwater was when we beat OU in Bedlam, 2011.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, right.
Brandon Whedon, right?
Brandon Whedon, yep.
Yeah.
Worked all weekend at Mexico Joe's. I was front of house there, shift lead. Made a couple $100 in 12 hours of work. Went to the Stonewall, closed that down, woke up the next morning and drove to Tulsa.
Whoa.
About 20 days later, I started at Burnco, and that's where things get real kitchen style.
No kidding. And how long were you at Burnco?
3 days before Christmas, 2011 till 2019. I took a small break where I went to go work for McNally's group. And then Adam didn't like me not working there, so he offered me basically a general manager position. We didn't have titles there, but I was in charge of the overall operations, catering, food service, ordering, general, just anything involving the managing of the business. I did that for about 3 years at 18th in Boston.
Was 2011 before Burnco was open?
They opened in February or March. It was around Adam's birthday of 2011. So they operated for about 10 months before I came on.
Gotcha.
Man, and so barbecue and beer are some of the very few things on the planet Earth that you can actually barter with anymore.
Yes.
And so
Very good point.
That's how we
Nick
became
and I,
friends.
Yeah, Nick and I became friends because, man, it was so cool because, at Burnco at that point in time, there was lines to the street.
Oh, you would go around back, you bitch.
No, I went through
okay.
those.
No,
I went through the door.
You'd walk past everyone holding
Yeah.
beer, and they'd be like, "This smart motherfucker."
And then I would get a tray of wonderful cut meat, and he would get wonderful beer. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world.
You know what I miss about the 11th Street location? Waiting in line and getting handed ribs or pieces of meat that were being cut.
They'll still run ribs down the line, but back in those days, if you're standing in line looking at the kitchen, Adam was on the left side, Robbie was on the right side, and Adam is fantastic at talking to people.
Yep.
He is such a fun character.
He's the first one you would see.
He's the
you would
he's the
meet.
first person you talk to, and he would just, if he had a sexy piece of meat he was cutting, he'd be like, "Hey, check this out," and it made that 20 to 30 minute wait, however long that wait was, seem worth it.
Right.
And the moment you were handed that piece of meat at that station, there was about 4 people in front of you, and you're like, "I was gonna get the bologna, but fuck, this brisket's good."
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, like it would change my order depending on what I was
that.
handed.
I mean, 'cause
Yeah.
in my world, you do the same, I'm sure. Whenever you're making something, you know when it's special.
Oh, yeah,
And
absolutely.
when you're producing meat, you
Sure.
know when you're putting something together that's special.
Right.
As somebody who cuts meat for a living, I know when I get a brisket, it's like, I need to share this. Like this
that's
needs
cool.
to be shared.
That's when you put it on Facebook of you squeezing it and all
That's
of the
the other
juices
night I
coming
did
out.
that,
Yep, yep.
And little known fact, whenever you get a nice thick cut of brisket, you're aiming for pencil thick is ideal. That's when it's gorgeous. Sorry, everyone else out there, I'm about to tell your secret. If you get really thin cut brisket, that's us cheating. That's us cheating. That means it's a little bit under and it needs a little bit of help. The thinner you cut it, the more easily it falls apart, and you can fake a really well cooked brisket.
Interesting.
All right.
A little bit under temp.
A
Is that
little
what you
bit
mean
under
by
temp,
under?
or just didn't. I mean, temp is a lot of it, rendering fat, rendering collagen, and all that. But every brisket's different. Some of them need to go a little bit further. Some of them you'll stab it and it's fine. And even like parts of the brisket, like you'll get the flat is gorgeous, and the point just needed a little more time.
Yeah.
And when you've got a chunk of meat that's 12 to 14 pounds, you've got to serve everyone, not just that little bit. So
Right.
Very true. Yeah.
So Burnco's 2019, and then
High Dive.
High Dive.
High Dive. We actually opened High Dive. Justin Carpenter owns Foolish Things Coffee, Foolish Things Bar and Biscuit. Met him at a cigar event we were hosting at Burnco. We actually went to high school together. We didn't know each other in high school, and we didn't even go to a big school at Bishop Kelly. But we graduated a year apart and talked to each other through mutual friends, and start drinking. It's like, man, this barbecue thing's fun, but I'm getting tired of it. I've been doing it for 9 years, and he offered me the chance to open High Dive. High Dive did not open as a barbecue spot. The original idea was Korean fusion bar food. Basically, we were throwing shows, throwing events, getting people to come in and drink and hang out. Excuse me.
The bourbon does that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my food, the entire idea behind the menu I created was to keep drunk people sober, essentially. Like,
right
hey,
on.
here's a cheesesteak, here's some nachos, here's some carb-heavy food that I can feed you, and you can continue drinking, and it's good. And it was a good menu, but it wasn't great. People weren't coming back for the food, and that wasn't the purpose. The purpose of the room was to be a room as cohesive idea. And once COVID hit, we opened that, to backtrack, we opened that in late September 2019. As everyone knows what happened about 6 months later, everything went to hell.
Man.
Yeah, man.
What?
Yeah.
Yikes.
I'm sure it was decent for you just because people started ordering more, buying more from the grocery stores.
It was decent. I will say that it was a lot of work.
I'm sure.
Because my staff went down to 2 people, and myself and my head brewer now.
Yeah.
And man, we were working around the clock. But also at the same time, your materials costs go up 50% because everything that we sold was in cans. So we had a great revenue year. We actually grew in volume, but had no profit to show for it.
That sounds right. That sounds right. So, like for us, basically, you know, obviously the description I just gave you, you know, everything was about volume sales. It was about packing out the room, throwing shows, getting people in there to drink and hang out. And obviously that wasn't a thing anymore. So I looked at Justin and I was like, man, I know I tried to get out of the barbecue game, but if you buy me a grill, I'll make you money. And he bought me a grill and we started putting together the menu. And that was, we opened back up in May whenever we were allowed to open up. It was right after Cinco de Mayo, I remember. Did a couple seated shows where I sold tickets. Did Paul Benjamin, did Jacob Tovar. I think we had Wink in there one night and just did like seated buy tickets. We had 13 people allowed in the room at a time. Did 2 seatings at 6 and at 8. And they just threw shows. All the ticket money went to the artist, helped support the artists. And that was the debut of this food.
There you go.
Nice.
Well, let's we'll start to serve that out a little bit. Tell us what you brought. I'll explain what this is. And cozy up to that mic a little bit over there so we can make sure to hear you and not too much of an echo. So this is, shout out to Emily Stewart at Ranch Acres. This was a store pick of Roknar, Minnesota rye whiskey from Far North Spirits. And it is, you can tell it's rye. It's got that rye spice on the back end, at least of my palate.
It coats your palate like all on the outside of your tongue. Has actually a little bit of like cinnamon nutmeg going on it.
Yeah, it's a good holiday rye whiskey.
Yeah,
for sure. And shout out to Ranch Acres. As of today, I believe they do delivery through an app called Smugglers. So you can download Smugglers, and you can order, and they'll just deliver it right to your door.
That's awesome.
Yeah, shout out for that. What do you think? You're in the bourbon group. You're in Spirits of Legend. What do you think of this Roknar?
Oh, it's delicious.
Yeah,
I agree with everything you said. I mean, I definitely get some cinnamon, some Christmassy vibes, some allspice. You know, just it's very herby. It's really, really good.
Yeah,
super smooth.
It is.
It's super smooth.
It's a high burn. It burns on your
for being 116 proof. It's. You always bring that heat. I do.
That's everything we get from the groups are that way.
Pretty much, yeah. What are you serving us? What are we eating here?
All right, what you guys are looking at there is some wonton chips, some smoked salsa, a little bit of pork belly. So what I brought today was some of the things that are relatively unique to what I do. You know, barbecue is barbecue. Within 5 miles of this restaurant, there's at least 5 or 15 barbecue restaurants, including awesome locals like we got Leon's, we got Naughty Pig, we got Oakhart right up the street that just opened, 1907, Burnco, and everyone has their niche. What I'm trying to do is kind of marry up some Asian and Mexican ideas with traditionally smoked barbecue.
I made a mess, not what you're saying.
Do what?
I'm laughing because I made a mess, not what you're saying. Sorry.
Continue. So barbecue traditionally is bread, meat, sauce, pickles. That's what makes up your average barbecue plate. So instead of bread, I'm doing tortillas, typically flour. I offer corn if wanted. For my meat, I do a lot of Asian marinades and a lot of Asian sauces. Then I also do different preparations on things, like today's pork belly. I take my pork belly, smoke it off until it hits about 208, and it's just pillow soft. Then I immediately start cooling it back down. Cool it down until it is... basically everything is recongealed, and then you slice it so you get nice, thick, even slices, and then actually deep fry that.
Wow.
So it's like crispy outside, but pillowy inside, and the texture is just insane.
I will say
that texture is awesome.
Your chips are the most addicting chips in Tulsa.
Thank you.
The wonton chips.
Wonton chips instead of tortilla chips. I mean, it's all just, fried grains, essentially what it is. For my pickles, what we're looking at here today is I've got pickled carrots, my sweet and sour pickles. I've got kimchi, candied jalapenos, pickled pears. Then I've got some pickled onions in there. So instead of just your basic, dill pickles and onions, I've got a little bit of creativity there. And a lot of those pickling ideas came from a restaurant called Soban that used to be open at 71st Memorial. They're actually about to reopen. Follow them on Instagram, Facebook, wherever.
Oh, cool. I didn't know they were reopening.
Yeah, they're going to... The spot that they're claiming they're going to reopen in is around 4th and Cheyenne, so downtown.
Okay.
So that was Mrs. Kim. Mr. and Mrs. Kim opened it. Mr. Kim passed away, and Mrs. Kim decided she didn't want to continue working in a kitchen forever, and I can't blame her. And her kids weren't quite old enough to take over the business. In recent years, their kids have grown up and been able to kind of help with the day-to-day. And Mrs. Kim is now just going to be doing kitchen work while her daughter and son take care of the actual business, and they're bringing it back. It's house-made. It's amazing. It's amazing that they're one of my biggest inspirations in the world in terms of cooking.
Do you know that restaurant?
No, I don't.
Yeah,
I
don't
don't
have to go to that
one.
one. I've heard of it, but I've never been.
They've done a couple pop-ups at American Solera.
Oh, that's where I've heard.
Okay.
Of it. Okay.
They did a couple pop-ups there. Last I heard, Mrs. Kim had to have surgery in October, so they're laying low for a bit, letting her come back on her feet. But if you see anything from Soban, I highly recommend it.
SOBAN?
SO space BAHN.
Okay. BAHN. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I have heard of them.
Yeah, Soban.
Yep.
I love those people. I love those people. So
I just filled my mouth with.
I know.
with
And we're having to be careful too because these chips are so crispy. You can just like
even
just be
the
worst.
barbecue's so crispy you can probably hear me chewing it.
I imagine.
That's awesome.
Little ASMR for him.
Right there you go.
Right.
But what's that thing where you just watch people eat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys.
And the salsa is a house smoked salsa as well.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's intense.
It's so good though.
There's a lot of things that I want to ask about this food.
Yeah.
Which I'll get to probably in my first question. But I really want to know. So I've heard multiple sides of the story of really, you said it just a moment ago. I want to know why. Why is this specific area of Tulsa or this specific territory of the world so either enthralled with barbecue, or two, why is there so many people making such good barbecue here? Is there a reason? Is it the region? Is it the people are just really awesome? Or what?
And to clarify, we're sitting at basically 4th and Trenton, 3rd and Utica.
But you could probably put a dot at High Dive, circle it in 5 square miles, and you've got more than half of the barbecue joints in Oklahoma here.
The ones we're talking about.
At least the worst one.
Yeah. Short of Clark Crew, Butchers, and there's a brand new place that just opened in Oklahoma City. I hear is fire.
Oh, I saw that.
Parsons was posting about it.
I saw that too.
Yeah.
Edgecraft.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, there's a bunch in Oklahoma City that are worth it. But in terms of this half of the state, specifically this area, I assume because a lot of us came in when rents are cheap and barbecue is extremely high overhead. Other than that, I don't know why we all flock to this general area. I know why Oklahoma has such a barbecue heavy scene. We're nestled right between Texas and Kansas, who are some of the biggest barbecue areas in the world. And we kind of married up Kansas City style sauces and rubs and stuff and Texas style meats.
Can I pause you?
Pork. Yeah.
Why did you do this?
In terms of
Yeah. Are you saying they're not as...
No,
it's not as good as it's portrayed to be?
No, Kansas City is sweet, ketchup-y. But Kansas City is also soup. So one of the things that makes Oklahoma unique in this sense is Kansas City is super sauce heavy. I mean, when I went to Q39,
and it's a sweet sauce.
Yeah, when I went to Q39, they gave me 4 different sauces,
which I love. Q39.
Yeah, it's delicious. Yeah. It was delicious. But the pork belly they gave me was literally a piece of pork belly with a brushing of sauce. As here in Oklahoma, we use that same kind of rub and that same kind of sauce, but we cook the meat well enough. It's like, no, you just don't worry about that. Use that if you need it, and use it sparingly, please. Which adds to the Texas end of things, where you don't need sauce. You shouldn't need sauce if you're doing it right. And then Texas lets the meat speak. I mean, that's part of that whole Texas versus Kansas dynamic as well. Actually, Oklahoma has the most winningest, like in terms of states, per the KCBS, like the sanctioning body for barbecue in the U.S., Oklahoma has more winning pitmasters than the rest, like in terms of states. I started getting derailed there. So like Oklahoma has the best pitmasters in the world.
I'm going to give a shout out
That's
to,
awesome.
And so here's what, let me just squirrel off on a moment here. What I love about the brewery scene, I had to swallow that pork belly real quick.
There you go.
I didn't want to cough into the mic,
Well, and you don't want to waste that bite.
Exactly. I had to savor it for a second.
Yep.
And now I'm there.
Yep.
Okay. You would think all these breweries, I mean, to an extent, there's competition, right? Because you want money. You want people to come spend their money at your brewery. But in talking to Eric Marshall last week and just seeing the collaboration between breweries, yes, there's competition, but there's a whole lot of love.
Oh, yeah.
And so I feel that. I love that about the barbecue world. That I feel like for the majority of places, that's the way it is. And I'm going to shout out Donnie Teal.
Oh, yeah.
Is it Buffalo Barbecue?
Buffalo,
a little
out
trail in Sperry. Or trailer in
Yes, sir.
Sperry. I drove all the way out there one time to try it because I saw someone told me about it. And we became Facebook friends. And this dude, I don't know how many awards he's won. How many competitions? How many?
Hundreds, if not thousands.
And I don't know if I would say he's the best pitmaster in Oklahoma. Not sure. That's a hard distinction to give someone. But I just love that can exist, right? You can have lines out the door at Burnco. You can have Korean-influenced barbecue at Hideaway. You can have Texas barbecue at Oakhart. And then you can have a fucking trailer in Sperry, Oklahoma that sells out every day because that dude just makes fucking good barbecue.
With one picnic table outside.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of like...
It's unreal.
In terms of commercial barbecue, I don't know if he is the best in the state, but he doesn't do his competition stuff. And his competition stuff speaks for itself. I mean, he is a legacy in the Kansas City Royal, and I think he took, second last year, I think, in the legacy category?
Yeah.
And in order to enter the legacy category, you have to have been doing it for over 15 years. Like, he is the best among the OGs. He's won it before.
Yeah.
I mean, the way you know that his trailer is open is because there's not actually a competition going on that weekend.
Right. Look at the competition schedule.
He is traveling for competitions, and when he's back home, he's like, I'm going to go run this trailer. I'm going to make some food. We're going to hang out. And by and large, it's the heads that go see him. It's, Adam from Max, they are super tight. Chris West, you don't expect him to be in the barbecue world
but
from
he
LaSalle's.
is.
LaMax is a barbecue team. It's Chris West and Adam.
And Hunter.
LaMac Bills.
Yeah, LaMac Bills.
LaMac Bills. It's just, we're all friends, and we all want to see each other do well. Something Myers used to say, Adam Myers from Burnco, is as long as you're having the conversation, everyone wins. It doesn't matter who's winning. Doesn't matter who you think is the best. You can think Rib Crib Albert G's. It doesn't matter. As long as you're having the conversation.
It's not barbecue.
We all win.
It's Boomer Q.
Yeah,
you could go Billy Sims even.
Burger Q. Burger Q.
Yeah.
As long as you're talking about us, we all come up and we all win. I mean, it's the same with you guys.
Yep.
I mean, I could not name my favorite brewery in Tulsa, but I know what my favorite beer from each brewery is.
That's a great way to put it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I could say the same about Oakhart. Their ribs are fire.
They really are.
Best short rib I've had is 1907.
Yep.
The sausage that Craig makes at Burnco, now at Sausage Brothers, and the ribs and the mac and cheese at Burnco. Potato salad, I mean, shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I could name my favorite from any given restaurant, barbecue restaurant, and that doesn't make any of them the best.
Right.
We all just, there's enough for everyone to feed everyone.
That's awesome.
So I'll ask my next question, and it's in this same vein. Did you go Korean influenced in a way to stand out because there's so much barbecue in the area?
That had a lot to do with
Okay.
it. So we opened the restaurant initially as Korean influenced because Korean is, let's be honest, it's hip right now. Korean restaurants or Korean food by and large, like I was mentioning Soban, is some of the best food in this world.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I could eat kimchi 7 days. If you just give me kimchi and rice, I'd be happy 7 days a week.
Yeah.
I don't need anything
Also
else.
really healthy for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm making brisket. It's just the flavors are so much fun, and they're big, bold, heavy flavors that mash up well with barbecue, and I just got fortunate with.
Did you know that, or was it a trial? I mean, obviously, you said like High Dive was Korean food at the start. So did you have to stay in that lane, or did it?
No, I had started playing with the flavors that I was already working with,
Like the gochujang and all that.
The gochujang, I was doing like a lot of gochujang, a lot of sesame oil, a lot of just heavy, deep flavors. A lot of doenjang, which is Korean miso, orange juice, just things you don't normally see. And I kind of just ran with that to see what would work. And I kind of got vindicated. I can't remember the show, but it was one of the Roy Choi Netflix shows. David Chang, Roy Choi, those guys doing
Chef
their thing.
Show or something like that.
Yeah, one of those. Yeah. And they wound up with a pitmaster down in Texas where they took a short rib, marinated it in his mom's Colby recipe for 48 hours, then smoked it for 18. And they were just, Roy kept being like, barbecue's supposed to be cheap because it's supposed to be working man meat. But this is a $80 meal anywhere in the fucking country.
Man, maybe barbecue's supposed to be cheap, but it ain't cheap anymore.
No, it's meat prices are
not
outrageous.
even close.
No.
But like I'd already started on this project and started working down that road. Then I came across that episode and I'm like, you get it. Oh, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
It was an idea.
That was validation.
It was validation that I had the right idea, and I just kind of kept running with it. And this menu is what was birthed out of
That's
that.
really cool.
And
That's really cool.
And the taco end of thing is obviously a Roy Choi, Koji out
Who
in
might be
LA.
the most underappreciated chef in the country.
He's definitely one of the most chill. Like he doesn't try to be a personality. He doesn't try to be anybody other than a dude who makes tacos out of a
Like,
truck.
do you know Roy Choi?
I do not.
See, that's the point. But you like good
Yeah.
food.
Oh, I love good food.
So Roy Choi, he was in the movie Chef, right?
He was the inspiration.
And then
for
he
the
was
movie
also-
Chef.
he was the
The way
inspiration.
that they were tweeting and all that, each location.
Yeah.
That's how he became famous with his. food
That's right.
truck.
That's right. And he taught Jon Favreau, who was the star of Chef, everything about the kitchen.
That's why the chef
How to
show
cook.
is
Yeah.
Favreau and Roy
And then
Choi.
on Netflix, when you
That's
go home,
cool.
watch Chef Show, and it's Favreau and Roy Choi, and they go around to, with Wolfgang Puck. just all these people, right?
Yeah.
And he's just here's what I appreciate the most about the kitchen and about people that run a kitchen: the creativity that you have to have, and to brew a beer as well.
Sure.
It
Oh,
works
yeah.
there too. But the creativity you have to, like, it takes creativity to take a recipe and then tweak it to your own liking, like I do at home. But that doesn't even hold the jock of the creativity it takes to create that initial recipe, right? And it blows my mind that there are so many people around us that are running kitchens and all this stuff that just have that creative fire, or that creative
there's
bone
some
in their body.
amazing talent
Yeah.
in this town.
Honestly,
It's amazing.
Oh yeah. Oh, thanks. Were you making dewy eyes at me?
Yeah, what you make is some of the best beer in the state.
good
Without
segue.
question.
Before you ask your
Yeah.
second question,
Thank you.
Open up
Yeah.
one of them.
Please.
What do we want to start with?
Let's save this for last because that has a story.
Yeah.
They all have a story, but that has a cool story.
Yeah.
So this
Thank you,
beer is actually this beer also has a story.
And it's like
So-
a grass fire. We got a fire there.
Yeah. I'm going to tell the story just as
it.
quick as I can.
Oh, we got time.
So
I got a whole bottle of rye whiskey we can go through. So we got time.
my wife might not like that, but I will.
Lisa, I apologize in advance.
So this beer is really near and dear to my heart in a lot of different ways. So what we're drinking from Cabin Boys today is Felix et Tenebris, which is our American stout. And the wonderful and cool thing about this beer was I came up with the recipe while I was in school in Germany.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so we were we were challenged to make a beer during school
That is so good.
and then present it at the end of the year at the school's year competition.
I would have loved school so much more if that was my school.
Right? Yeah. You study a
God,
lot
Tell me
harder.
about it.
So anyways, so
You
there was
study a lot harder.
so we've got well, I did study a lot harder. to be quite honest.
it's like being able to expense food and meals. It's like you're studying by drinking and knowing how to drink and make alcohol.
As much as there was drinking, there was a lot of studying.
And I didn't mean to diminish
no,
that.
No.
Yeah,
You're good. I get a lot of heck for it. So we're in class for 40 hours a week, and then outside of class, we'd end school, and then my buddies and I in my study group would
load me up a little more.
Yeah.
I'm not done yet.
Absolutely. So my buddies
you,
and I in my study group would then get together and study until midnight, fall asleep, repeat. So it was day in, day out. It was crazy, except for the weekends.
And what part of Germany was this?
This was in Munich, Germany. So yeah, just a little bit west outside of Munich.
Thanks, bud.
Some sauce.
Oh yeah. Ooh. See, you started on the side. No,
there we go.
Yep.
But anyways, about this beer, I came up with the idea. I presented it to my headmaster, and I said, "Hey, I want to make a stout with oranges in it." And he was like, "Well, that's weird." And I was like, "Well, I'm an American. We do weird things." And he was like, No. I totally understand that. Like, but why do you want to do it in? So I presented it in the way I wanted to do it in the boil, not in fermentation. That was the weird part of it.
Okay, so explain to me the difference in that. I know, like, obviously different stages, but would there be a difference in flavor?
Yeah, so in the fermentation, if you put oranges in the fermentation, you're actually going to get orange flavor.
Okay.
You're going to get
And that's
that
what you wanted.
citrusy. So no.
Or you want to boil, right?
I wanted it to be in the boil, and that's what kind of threw him off. But and so I presented the idea, and he was like, "Well, go for it." And the thought process behind that was, if I use it in the boil, it will do what the Swiss do with their chocolate, because the acidity of the citrus within that dark chocolate cuts down that fattiness of the chocolate and relieves your palate and begs you to eat more chocolate.
Is that why
their
it's so
secret?
smooth?
Yeah, is that
And
their
that's
secret?
why it's so
I
smooth.
mean, this is the smoothest stout I've ever had.
It's really
Yes,
good.
and that is the reason. So when we put the oranges into the boil, it drops the pH 3 points from 4.2. No, not point. Sorry, 0.3 points.
Gotcha.
So from in the
still
boil,
significant.
yeah. So in the boil, it goes from 5.2 to 4.8, which in the long run in fermentation takes it down, the beer down to 3.8 or 3.9. So technically, this is a more acidic beer. It's not sour because it's still sweet, but just like, so it gives the brain a kind of a mix-up and tells you, hey, I'm not drinking something heavy. I'm drinking something really smooth. And same concept or the same reality goes with like honey, because honey is the sweetest thing on planet Earth, literally. But because of its
Is it really?
Yeah, because of its acidity level, which is 1.9 to 2.2.
Really?
It's one of the sweetest and most acidic things. That's why you can eat a whole jar of honey
That's why it never goes bad.
and
as
not
well.
get sick.
Honey
And
never goes bad.
Yep. So same concept goes into this beer and why a lot of people like to drink more than just one.
Was there inspiration? Like
I literally
Guinness, or like was there an inspiration that you?
no, I wanted to make a dry yet very sweet,
Because I get
in
the
concept sweet
The reason
beer.
I said Guinness is I feel like the weight of it in my mouth is very similar to Guinness.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's because Guinness is just straight up dry.
Definitely a different finish. And
Yeah.
much smoother, sweeter, all of that. But it's almost the light, which people never understand how Guinness is one of the lightest beers you can order.
Right. Yeah.
They don't get that because it's dark
actually-
as night.
Yeah,
but it's so light.
It actually starts out as an Irish red.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Guinness does.
Yeah, it starts out as an Irish red and they
Noted.
color it in the boil.
Noted.
Yeah.
Color it
know
with what?
With dark malt.
Okay.
They
if
throw
you
'em-
said food coloring, I was going to revolt.
No.
Wait a minute.
Guinness is still 100%
Okay.
organic
Good,
or
good,
whatever.
good, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not drinking no fucking food coloring.
No. But yeah, so that the same concept, the same thought process. But I was more intrigued with the chocolate that I was having over in Europe and how much citrus they were using.
So that was your inspiration.
And the inspiration came from, hey, if I'm going to be brewing a stout, which is chocolatey and coffee in flavor, much like dark chocolate, why not put citrus in it?
Chocolate orange is one of the greatest things in this world.
Honestly.
I mean,
It is.
Christmas is coming up. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. So for my second, it's my turn,
It's your
right?
You're
yeah.
up. Yep.
Words.
I was about
You're
to chime
cute.
in. Did he forget his question?
The
chip?
The chip
and-
distracts me.
Yep.
It does that. It stays with you.
So crispy.
It's so awesome. If you guys haven't been to High Dive, this wonton chip
Oh my
is delicious.
Thank
It's
you.
smoked, right?
No,
Or
no, it's
what-
just wontons fried.
It does have that. I think it's mind.
Okay.
It's because
Like
everything
it's-
else is.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
there's so much smoke in your mouth, and you're also drinking a stout, which is smoky in and of itself.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
there's a lot of heavy flavors on this table right now.
Yeah.
I'm not mad about it though.
No, it's yeah, I'm enjoying it as well.
Yeah. All right, go ahead.
So
I won't bite into a chip.
you've been in the kitchen, you've grinded it out really hard, and you've worked really hard to get to where you're at. And I say that as a compliment
Thank you.
because it takes a lot of stamina and a lot of mind.
really does,
It
yeah.
does. It takes a lot of mindset and a lot of passion. And I want to know what keeps you in the game and why you're excited about where you're at with High Dive in this area, and what is the thing that you're pointing towards in your own passion field, and really working towards that.
Honestly, I really enjoy taking care of people. Like I like feeding people. I like seeing. So in my college years, I was a musician. I played bars all over. I had it in my head that I wanted to play music for a living. I was exposed to some pretty awesome local musicians from a young age, Barton and Sweeney specifically, still playing on the scene, amazing musicians. And I grew up watching them and seeing how much everyone had fun around them and how everything they did just kind of became a party. And I wanted to do that. And my mom kept telling me, I refuse, don't be a musician. You're not going to make any money. Your chance of making money are very, very little. And then for Christmas, she'd buy me a loop pedal. And then for Christmas, she'd buy me an amp. And it's just like, be realistic, but go have fun, sweetie.
Good luck and play nice.
Exactly. So I did that for years and was realized I didn't have the passion for grinding it out as a band. I mean, the band grind is intense. Our bar manager next door is in a band called Lucid Awakening, and it is a full-time job outside of his full-time job just to keep it going. I mean, he's about to go on tour. He's doing some great work, and most people have probably never heard those two words put together. Lucid Awakening, go check them out. They're fantastic.
They were at Vanguard not too long ago.
They played Vanguard not too long ago. They played a festival in Dallas So he works 60 hours a week in the restaurant. After he closed down, after he got the shift taken over on Friday at 4:00, drove to U-Haul, went and got a U-Haul trailer, and then loaded up all of his gear, left at 7 a.m. I know this because I was at work smoking meat to go play a festival in Dallas. Played the festival in Dallas and was back to work by Monday. I mean, he's about to go on tour, and like they're grinding, and it's a grind.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I get a similar. Sorry, I cut you off.
No.
Well, no, it's
Go
like
for
his
it.
first
I-
full-time job supports the ability
Exactly.
to do.
And I get a similar
that full-time
satisfaction that I got playing on stage as I do feeding people. It's a similar idea. It is my food, my love goes into this, and I see the reactions that people get similar to, people cheering after a song. For me, it's after a meal. And it's fun. It's genuinely rewarding.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps me going. And yes, it is a grind. It's obscene hours, but it's my hours.
I would imagine, and I'll say this because for me, because I smoke stuff at home, like we've talked briskets, I've bought briskets from you, like we've done this whole thing.
Trim briskets together.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite things when it comes to cooking for people is the moment, that quiet. And you know what I'm talking
No, I
about.
know exactly what you're talking about.
The hush of when people start eating, and there was conversation, there was chatter, there was all this, and then people start eating, and it's nothing. And it's that moment. because restaurants can be so loud and so lively and so whatever. So I don't know if you get to enjoy that or experience it or listen for it.
I can
but
hear it.
You can hear it?
So whenever I'm getting, feeding 2 and 4 tops, I never get to see that until, I get through my rush, and I always try to walk through the room and, chat. You get an idea, something. So working at Hideaway in Stillwater, a little tangent. Richard Dermer, the guy who started Hideaway all those years ago, I actually got to wash dishes with him for a couple of years.
No kidding.
He refused to work the floor. He refused to work the ovens. All he wanted to do was wash dishes. At one point in time, I took a phone call, somebody looking for a manager. I couldn't find a manager anywhere. Went back to the dish pit. I knew who he was. When I was like, hey, Dermer, somebody's on the phone, something about new carpets, blah, blah, blah. He looks at me and goes, I fucking pay people for that. You go find them.
Sir, yes, sir.
Yeah, so I went and found them, took care of it. But one of the things he taught me in the dish pit was one of the reasons he enjoyed doing dishes, on top of it being peaceful and pleasant, because the rest of restaurants are not peaceful and pleasant.
It's a valid point.
Is he would pay attention to what people left on their plates. He'd pay attention to what got left behind. What was wrong with that
What we need
pizza.
to tweak.
Yeah, what were people were enjoying. And he would also count.
Pizza of the gods is what people enjoy.
And the big country.
Yeah.
Paradise Pie. And
But Pizza of the God. Shout out. I picked up Hideaway Pizza last night for my buddy's son's 4th birthday party.
Yeah.
And Pizza of the Gods went the fastest. I just love that pizza.
It's
Sorry, continue.
It's not my go-to. My go-to.
You're a meat guy.
My go-to in Tulsa is the bomb.
Okay.
It's got a balsamic vinegar, pineapple, pepperoni. Let's fight about.
So you're a pineapple.
Pizza.
I was going there.
I don't actually normally care for it, and if I didn't know they were on there, I wouldn't care. But I know that pizza is delicious, so I don't give a fuck.
You put oranges. You put oranges and gochujang and barbecue. Of course, you like pineapple on pizza.
Fair.
Come on.
Like in Stillwater, I always get the avogado sandwich. They don't have that in Tulsa.
I don't know that one. Yeah.
So Hideaway Stillwater and Hideaway Tulsa are 2 different companies.
Okay. What about Norman?
No, Hideaway and Stillwater is one company.
Okay.
Every other Hideaway in the world is a different company.
Okay.
Wow.
Richard refused to sell. He refused to branch out. It was more work than. Once again, I pay people for that.
Yeah.
It was more work than he wanted to do. He was happy. And back in the 90s, he had some people he trusted, Brett and the guys who are running it now. Mm-hmm. Let them basically run off, and he sold them the image. He sold them the name and the image. There's not a single recipe that is the same amongst the 2. The toppings are the same, but the crusts are different. Everything's different. The ones here in Tulsa and elsewhere use a conveyor oven because they're idiot-proof. And when you're serving that many people, that many places, you have to minimize.
Yeah.
You have to minimize.
Minimize the idiocracy.
But the one in Stillwater has 4 full-on 600-degree deck ovens.
Really? Wow.
And running those ovens is a skill.
Do you like the Stillwater location better?
Not
to shit on any of
Once again, one of my favorite pizzas in the world is the Bomb here in Tulsa. But the one in Stillwater, I have a special place in my heart there. I worked there for 3 years. Mm-hmm. It was one of the greatest places I've ever worked. I love those humans. I love that place. And watching people run those ovens was fun.
I bet.
You have to work your way up to that. The entire place is on tip share, so including the kitchen. And the kitchen, the people pulling pizzas are the highest paid people in the restaurant at any given moment. They make more than the servers, which is a pretty odd thing in the restaurant.
But if you think about it,
that's awesome.
They should if it's a pizza restaurant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
And the guy pulling pizza is an art form. Mm-hmm. It is an art form. I mean, running hundreds of pizzas over a course of hours and not burning any of them. I mean,
That's
you're talking
talent.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a deck oven. Buddy of mine, Zach.
For those that don't know, explain what a deck oven is.
Deck oven is a giant, so about 15 feet wide, maybe a foot tall door that leads into a 4 to 6 foot deep stone plate that you put your pizzas on.
Yep.
And
cooks in it.
You have hot.
Instant.
Yeah, you have hot spots. You have cold spots. You start on this side and you pull on that. And you just constantly are moving.
Man.
It is a skill.
That's a dance.
It is a dance.
Honestly,
It
yeah.
is a dance.
Yeah.
And the guys who used to run that were amazing. The guys who, anyways, that was a pretty serious tangent.
I didn't mean to
you're
interrupt
good.
you. You were about to talk about your friend Zach, and I interrupted
Yeah,
you.
no,
What-
it's just a side story about running those ovens. Dermer actually said Zach was taking over the ovens and he was having a hard time keeping up with it. I mean, it's it's a lot of work, and it's scary, and you forget the one in the corner, and you've got basically you need to keep clearing it out while still filling it up, and clearing it out while still filling it up. And Dermer walked in and told Zach, sorry, Zach, if I get this story wrong, you're the one that told it to me. Dermer walked in and told him to show up for his next shift half an hour before his shift, and then just get stoned.
Okay.
Smoke down. It's like smoke down, sit on the back porch. Sit on the back porch and play Tetris. And when you get to that oven, pizza Tetris.
Oh,
It's just
That's a wax on, wax off moment.
and he's like, I like this job.
he wound up working that oven for 4 or 5 years at least. I'm sorry if I shorted you, but years. He was
Getting
the
stoned
dude.
before every shift.
Game days, thousands of dollar hours. Zach was the dude, and he's like, pizza Tetris. It made sense. I got it. You fill it up, and then you clear it out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my
But-
word. So
yeah.
your answer really to define it, which is really cool, and this is kind of becoming a very
There's a through line.
There's a
like
through
yeah,
line.
Yeah.
within, and the more and more that we get into this podcast, I think where it's going to get more and more solidified, because what I'm hearing is I care about people, I care about their community, I care about what makes them happy, and that's what fuels everyone's passion.
Yeah.
Here in Tulsa specifically.
Right.
It's a hospitality industry.
That's what
if
it
you
is.
don't like, there's a lot of memes and jokes and stuff about, hateful servers. And then when you walk away from a table, you're like, fuck that bitch, it's fucking bullshit. But
Right.
ultimately, you don't do this for years unless you care.
Dude, I've seen things
Right.
in kitchens
Unless you
that I
care.
would never repeat.
Yeah.
There's people that just despise their job
Yes.
that are in that, but in any industry, that industry
100%.
included. But
100%.
what you're saying is 100% true. The people that last and the people that choose to be in that industry are in it because they like the hospitality.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You enjoy taking care of people. And
Right.
once again, community. I love being a part of my community. Oakar got broken into yesterday.
I was going to ask you about that. What did you guys do? Go ahead and brag on yourself because they shouted you out on Instagram.
Once that came through, so Jake, my bar manager, the band guy, his buddy Lucas, who's also in the metal scene, works at Oakheart. And Chris, as I understand it, was in a pretty successful metal band as well. I don't know the name of it, and I'm sorry for that. But he's a very successful musician. It's a lot of musicians in my world. It's a lot of overlap. You'll see.
That's cool.
Oh, yeah.
You'll see that as you continue going. But Jake saw that and saw that the main thing that was keeping him down was the POS.
Is that what they showed the picture of that was cut?
Yes,
The wires
the
that were
wires
cut?
that were cut.
Okay.
So basically, whoever just took the POS just yanked everything. And technology is fragile. We use Toast, and whenever we opened the restaurant, Justin got 2 Toast systems just to be safe. Install once, don't worry about it. We've had an extra POS over there we use on occasion, and we don't anticipate using it anytime soon. So Jake called him up, was like, "Hey, I've got a POS. We're 300 feet away. Can we just bring that over there?" So Jake came in on his day off, unhooked everything, carried it over there, hooked everything up, got him on Wi-Fi, got him installed, and was able to limp through until their stuff comes back. It's not like we did anything out of hand. It's not like we took anything out of our pocket.
No, but it's a lot like what Eric Marshall said last week about brewing your beer when you were in a moment where you needed help. Like Oakheart gets broken into, you
Of
guys
course.
are able to help without losing money on the deal. But I'm sure you would have if you would have lost some money too.
but-
it's just helping out.
We'd be rude not
for,
to.
Yeah, and for people that don't know how expensive it is to install a POS system, it's $2,000 to $3,000
Yeah.
for a
Jeez,
company
I didn't
to
know that.
Yeah,
It's that much money.
to install it, not to buy the equipment,
Right.
To
Yeah.
install it.
Jeez.
And whenever we put mobile bites in at Burnco, it was 3 terminals. I think our final bill was in the $9,000 to $12,000.
I believe it.
Unfucking believable.
for
I believe it.
iPads and drawers. But
It's about as expensive as buying 2 briskets these days.
it's getting up there. It's getting up
God.
there. No, it was just like I said. It would have been rude not to help them.
Yeah. Well,
They're
no, but there's some people that would say it's business to not help
fuck
them.
that.
But that's what I was getting at
Yeah,
earlier.
exactly.
The love between
like
the world, right? Like
this
the
past
barbecue
Friday-
world, the brewery world, all that.
This past Friday, I was doing a catering, and I did an extremely small, just brisket and pulled pork sandwiches and chips. If you want to come in, that's what I have.
I remember seeing that. Yeah.
I had a several $1,000 catering order going out that afternoon. I love feeding the public, but ultimately money is money. So money won that day. And I had a table come in who was kind of hissy fit about my menu. I was like, listen, you don't even have to repark your car.
Right.
Walk that way, go in the back door.
Yeah.
Just go see them. They'll take care of you. You'll have a good meal. It won't be my food, which is what you wanted, but who cares? It's
good barbecue.
You know, it's good
different
barbecue.
Texas barbecue.
It's good barbecue. Yeah. It's a cool experience. Their ordering style is awesome.
It is really cool. Yeah. I'm going to hand you this as I ask my third question.
And before you do,
go ahead.
Could we go on break because I need to go to the restroom? Before,
Are you pulling an Eric Marshall?
Yeah, I'm pulling an Eric
You
Marshall.
went before we started.
I know, but I drank like 2 liters of water at the brewery before
Get outta
because
here.
I knew that we were doing this.
We'll be right back. Welcome back, Grandpa.
I'm sorry.
Jesus.
When you drink
Bladder
water,
the size of a pea over there.
when you're planning on drinking bourbon and at least
some
2 glasses
beers,
of beer that are over 9%,
Okay.
you've got to prepare.
So I'll hand this back to you for that
Yeah.
one. As you open that, my last question. You've mentioned this before, and I want to get your big picture. What are you doing with my keys? Your,
sorry?
Your big picture view on where Tulsa stands and how we can ascend in that standing, right? So you have Kansas City, known for barbecue. You talked about Q39, Joe's Kansas City, Jack Stack. I mean, you name it. Like there's barbecue galore.
Arthur Bryant.
Right, yeah.
No.
South of us, you have, the one everyone knows, Aaron Franklin, Franklin's Barbecue.
Who's he?
Right? You have Salt Lick. There's barbecue galore in the Austin area in particular. We're right smack dab in the middle of them. What can Tulsa do to get on that barbecue map? Do you feel like we're there? And how can we elevate if we are there where we are currently?
It's a fantastic question that I don't
Thank
really
you.
have a good answer for.
That's all right.
Just what?
No, I mean-
spitball with me. Like what? What's your gut feeling when you hear
Kansas City is OG. I mean, that's where the original stockyards, one of the biggest stockyards in the world is in Kansas City. That's why the barbecue scene is there where it is.
that? Interesting.
Because meat was abundant.
Is that why Oklahoma has a lot of like barbecue too?
We've got pretty good stockyards here, but also Oklahoma has that because we don't have anything else to do.
It is time consuming.
It is very time consuming. I mean, that's one of my jobs fresh out of high school was water well work, and I worked for an old Green Beret, and his ongoing joke was the reason so many Oklahomans work on old trucks is because it takes up time they don't have to be with their wife.
When you say that's funny. When you say takes up time, tell people your normal schedule, if you want to call it that. Your work day.
I cook on Hasty Bakes, and those are essentially barbecue microwaves. I mean, it's just an oven. My brisket takes on average 7 to 8 hours.
And to compare, mine probably takes 12 to 14
to 16 easily.
or 14 to 16.
Yeah, I'm Aaron Franklin's. Aaron Franklin's is taking same 12 plus. Yeah. I mean, any offset burner, it is a significant portion of your day.
If not 2 days.
If not 2 days.
A day and a half.
Yeah, there's enough content on YouTube. You can actually watch. There's a 24 hours at Franklin's show, I think from one of those.
Yeah, I've seen that
one of those where a guy goes and works at Franklin's for 24 hours straight. And they're pulling their briskets for lunch at 7 in the morning and putting the next ones on at 9. So they're pulling. I mean, it is a 24-hour constant process. Hot boxes are an amazing thing in our world. But to answer your question specifically, to get us on the map, it's marketing. I mean, Kansas City barbecue. Whenever I went to Q39, went to Central Market in Memphis, and Central Market is the best commercial barbecue I've ever had outside of Tulsa. I mean, inside of Tulsa, 1907, oh my God. Tulsa Brisket Company was amazing. R.I.P. Philip, that makes me so sad.
I don't know what happened.
He got broken into, and he was going to start working with another guy, And I don't know what officially made everything fall apart, but last I talked
So I
to
noticed
him,
that truck wasn't there anymore.
last time I talked to him, he said he was out of the game.
Dang.
Right? I mean, it's once again back to what we said
It's
before.
fragile.
It's fragile and it's a grind.
Yeah.
It is a grind.
And he built his own trailer. He built his own smoker. I mean, he had the best bite of brisket I've ever had in my life.
Really?
I mean, he was amazing. It was so good. But yeah, I mean, outside of Tulsa, the best I've ever had is Central Market. Q39, I was not impressed at all. I've eaten.
I was not either.
Yeah,
I've been there.
I've
been there
I
twice.
had good burn-ins, and that was about it.
Yeah, I got the burn-in sandwich. I
I
wouldn't.
wouldn't say the same.
Yeah.
I mean, I had their burn-ins, and
I must have
I
just had a
agree with
good
you.
batch.
You
or
must
something.
have-
I don't know. Yeah.
but to that point, to make a statement of you're making the best barbecue, you've got to be at least somewhat very consistent and know the
Oh, yes.
tricks to make it
yes.
consistent.
No, I mean, Q39 is a large restaurant.
Yeah.
That's serving 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. I mean, that's Albert G's and Rib Crib style. Albert G's, I think, is the most consistent barbecue in the state. I mean, they have amazing ribs. You're not going to find better brisket there than you will at any of the craft spots.
Sure.
But if you want a brisket sandwich at 8:30 at night, 1907's closed. I'm closed. Burnco's closed.
Right.
Oakhart's closed. But you can get a decent product at Albert G's. And what you can get at Albert G's is better than anything I had at Q39.
Interesting.
I
Okay.
would agree.
I mean,
Which is really weird to say.
So is it
Yeah.
a lack of marketing or the wrong marketing?
I would say it's more historical.
Okay.
So, I mean, Kansas City came up with Arthur Bryant's and, those guys have been around for 30, 40 plus years.
Yeah.
I've been doing this forever. The barbecue scene in Tulsa until 2011, I mean, Albert G's was good, but once Burnco came on the scene, it kind of lit a fire under their ass. And they started doing those Tulsa-style ribs that are fucking fire. They do a Tulsa-style St. Louis rib that is so good. And it's blackened bark like Burnco, and it's very obviously Burnco inspired.
Yeah.
It's so good. But, I mean, until then, it was just barbecue. Once Burnco came on the scene, they did their thing, and then 1907 came through, and then Killer Whale came through. There was a little thing called Ember Barbecue behind American Solera for a little bit that was amazing, overpriced, but amazing.
Is that when they were at 18 in Boston?
Yeah.
Was it that location?
Yeah. Yeah, they were actually my first experience with barbecue tacos that turned into what I'm doing
wow.
across the street, not even across the parking lot,
Yeah. Across the parking lot. Yeah.
across the driveway.
There you go.
But, I mean, just Burnco coming on the scene kind of lit a fire under Tulsa's ass. I mean, Max has been going the entire time.
So then what is the marketing that we need? Like, how do you, and that might be a question you can't answer. That might be a question for
That's
Matt
a question.
Pinnell,
That's a question
you know?
for you, dude.
Right. Oh, well, actually, that's a good point. So
It might be the reason why we're doing this podcast
Yeah, right?
a little
Yeah.
bit.
So,
Please
but
listen. You'll find some very good secrets
Yeah.
about Tulsa and the community around you.
I can come up with the strategy and the method of delivery and the
Yeah.
content, but as far as the heart of the message, that has to come from the kitchen, right? And I don't know what that is. I don't know what the message is that differentiates Tulsa from Oklahoma City, from Wichita, from Dallas, from anywhere else in between Austin and Kansas City. Do you have a feel for that yet?
Well, Oklahoma in general, like I said before, is a melding. It's a melding pot. I mean, we've got the sweet rubs and the sauces that we don't apply the way that they do in Kansas City, but then we've got the long cooks like they do in Texas, and we do brisket as opposed to pork by and large, and we still have pork here, and we're heavy on sausage, and not to mention Oklahoma tube steak.
I was about to say, shit.
bologna.
We have the thing that no one else has.
Nobody else has
bologna.
They do a little bit in Arkansas, and if you ask Nick Parsons, they do it in Texas. You're fucking wrong, but
Yeah, he's way wrong. Come on, Nick. Don't do it in Texas.
yeah, but I mean it's just Oklahoma is such it's unique in that it shares the same ideas between two spots, but that's a hard thing to differentiate, and that's a hard thing to sell. It's like the best things about Texas and Kansas, come to Oklahoma.
Right.
I'm not a marketing genius.
Maybe you start calling it melting pot barbecue.
Yeah, I mean But I mean, Tulsa, by and large, after I ate at Q39, the next Monday, we were there on a Sunday. The next day, I drove to Skytook to go see Adam because I was curious if I was full of shit. Like I know what my food tastes like, and I'm very proud of my food, and I'm very happy with my food. But I was convinced that Oklahoma barbecue is better than that. And I went to go see Adam Green, and he fed me a plate of food. And my first bite of ribs, it's like, fucking, I knew what I was talking about.
Yeah.
This is better than anything in that city. I mean, fight me. Let's do this.
Gauntlet. Throw
Yeah, I
them
mean,
down.
let's do this. I mean, I will put up Oklahoma barbecue against Kansas City for sure. The only reason I won't say Texas is because Texas is salt, pepper, brisket, and if you put anything else on it, you're wrong.
Yeah, pretty much.
And
except for Franklin's, they cheat.
yeah, they put other things.
They put
but
Lori's seasoning salt.
They won't tell anyone.
I know.
They won't tell anyone.
Except for the guy that left and accidentally spilled the beans.
La Barbecue.
Yeah.
La Barbecue.
La Barbecue.
Yep.
What are we drinking before you ask your last question?
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's a story behind this one too.
There is. So, I actually, when I was leaving the office, I saw the bottle in my private stash, and I was like, heck with it. I'm going to bring it because I'm feeling good, and I really want to end the day with this bottle. So this is a really cool thing. This is our collaboration with Marble Brewing Company in Albuquerque, Mexico, New Mexico. And so we brewed this liquid. We brewed this liquid in February of 2019.
Okay.
So
so
a little over 2.5 years ago. So the first time that like my hands touched this would have been in February 2019. So but they asked me to write the recipe, which is a really great compliment. They're if you've never heard of their brewery, they're two or three times larger than Coop. They're big time, and my connection with them is I graduated with their he's not their master brewer, he's their operations manager. And I graduated with him in brewing school. So anyways, it's a Biere de Garde. There's only 4 bottles left in existence, and this is one of them.
Boom.
So this is very rare.
thank you for sharing.
You're very welcome. I was excited to open up the bottle, excited to see how it tastes for myself, and tell the story. It rested in Spanish Rioja barrels and wild fermented for 18 months, and then bottled. So get your jaws ready. I think this is going to be a little bit tart. I don't remember exactly.
It smells a little tart.
Okay,
It's delicious.
but-
I might have cheated.
Yeah, but the name is Sooner or Later, and so at our brewery we brewed the same exact recipe.
Is it Sooners with an S because of Oklahoma?
They named it Sooners or Laters.
So Boomer.
yes.
Go Pokes.
Go Pokes. So they named it Sooners or Laters. We named ours Sooner or Later because we released the unbarrel aged version first, and then a year and a half later we released the barrel aged version, and we actually aged ours in a clean Spanish Rioja barrel that I actually bought when it was on the boat in transit to America from Spain.
Cool.
Yeah. So it hit the port and then went straight to the brewery.
That's
Cool.
awesome. For those who don't know, what's a Biere de Garde?
A Biere de Garde is actually a French style beer, and it's in the left quadrant of saisons.
Okay.
So it's like a farmhouse saison style.
I don't think most people know the quadrants of saison.
No one really actually knows what the quadrants of saison is. It's if you ever drink a beer with the name saison on it, it's just because the brewer was very confused and just said that.
That's a saison. Sure.
So
Saison.
Yeah.
Say something.
So please enjoy this. This
Cheers,
is
buddy.
really fun.
Cheers,
I'm
guys.
excited.
Thanks for coming on, Nick.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. Yeah.
Appreciate
All
being
right, my
here.
jaw's ready. That's fucking delicious.
Oh, that's actually not as sour
No.
as I thought it was going to be.
No, it's like a strawberry sweet tart.
Mm.
It's so good.
And past the candy part, like that sour candy
Yes.
and sweetness, you can.
It's
get,
got a great finish.
It's It finishes very cherry forward.
Nah,
Lots of vanilla from the barrel itself.
That's amazing.
it just coats
Yeah.
your tongue in
Spanish
all the best
Rioja.
ways.
Spanish Rioja barrels.
All right, you got one more question.
Yeah.
We drink. What are you in it on?
So, going off of all of our questions about Tulsa, about your passions, about where we're going, why or how Tulsa can, grow its community, and I honestly think I'm going to tangent away.
Do it.
This came to my mind when he was answering that question. I think a little bit of why Oklahoma struggles with people knowing about us.
Let's have that conversation more. Yeah.
Is because I don't think that we're getting into a position where we are comfortable with it.
Are we scared to market
We're
ourselves?
scared to tell our own story. I think,
But I'm not from here, so where does that come from?
I think it actually comes from our history of just being friendly, which is kind of a weird answer.
And I'll agree with that. That it comes like earlier you were telling me to talk about Oakhart.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody in this state likes bragging on themselves.
That's why I had to ask you.
No, nobody.
Right.
Yeah, it's uncouth to brag on yourself. I'm very like you. We're very proud of what we do, but if you start bragging on yourself, then you kind of come off as an asshole.
Right.
And I just
It's
Well, but
it's
what you
still
can do
I'm enough
is you
of an
can
asshole
you can let
anyways.
guys like Grassfire Creative brag for you,
yes,
There we go.
Grassfire
So
Creative can
tangentially,
definitely brag for you.
right? So that way you don't have to brag on yourself, so that we're the assholes
Yeah, exactly.
that are bragging about Cabin
Yeah,
Boys. and
people want
High Dive.
in our world, we want people to tell our story for us. I mean, nobody wants to hear about that awesome joke you just told.
That's true.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, nobody wants
Joe
to hear.
Rogan will tell you about the awesome joke you just told.
Yes, he will. He's fantastic at that. Oh God. Anyways, sorry I cut you off.
Oh no, you didn't cut. I
Yeah.
cut myself off.
Yeah.
No, but that's an interesting point. So the kindness of Oklahomans is in a roundabout way
It's getting in our way.
restricting Oklahoma, Tulsa, and if we want to be specific, because that's where we're sitting, from putting themselves out there to get the notoriety that not only would help the state, but that they deserve.
Right.
And it's the feeling, like you said, of, oh, well, if I brag on myself, that makes me an asshole. That makes me a douchebag. That makes me whatever, right? That's interesting.
And actually, okay, so I'm going to give an example, and I'm going to get to my question.
I don't agree with
Sorry.
that either,
Keep-
by the way. Like,
Yeah.
Keep
I
talking, I'm
agree with,
listening.
and I'm not saying either of you are wrong, but we have to find a way to make ourselves not feel that way.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think it comes with repetition
Yeah.
and knowing that it's okay to tell your story and it's okay to say the truth. Because like when I'm sitting here actually talking about this beer, talking about buying a barrel that's still in the ocean, coming to my brewery. This,
That's a
that, and
humble
the other.
brag.
Right.
And it's
still in my stomach as an Oklahoman. I'm a little bit embarrassed to say that.
Absolutely not, though.
No. And for years, our motto was Oklahoma is okay, not Oklahoma is the fucking shit.
But we are.
And we are the fucking shit.
But and we don't have to delve into this because that'll add another hour to the conversation. But the people that say Tulsa is the next, and then it's like they cross off Austin, they cross off like Tulsa's the next Tulsa. That's great, but on the same hand, you can't say that, but then not want people to move here because you don't want more traffic, or not want people to move here
Right.
because
No, you're correct
it would,
about that.
it can't live in the same existence.
No, you're right about
Right?
that. But we
And
want to
so-
be ourselves. We also want to attract those people.
Right. We have to pick a lane. Like,
Yeah.
you have to pick a lane. Those are two vastly different lanes. One's going this way and one's going this way. Like you have to pick a lane.
I think the lane that we're going to ultimately pick is Tulsa,
which is fine.
But
if people like that, let me backtrack. We have to market that,
right?
And then if people like that, then we have to allow them to come here and
of course
embrace them with open arms. Not that we don't, but we like to say that we don't.
Yeah,
because we're nice, and when they come here, we're very nice to them. But we like to say internally that no, like, keep everybody else away.
We don't.
Yeah,
no, I do. I want their wallet money.
Good.
Wallet money is nice.
Yes. it's real nice. Oh my word. Okay,
wrap us up, Austin.
In your best terms, I want you to describe what you think makes Tulsa special, and what we should be telling after all of these statements. What we should be telling the world why High Dive is a place to come to. Why this area of the world is a place that people should be paying attention to, because we have a really cool story. We have really interesting history here that we're grappling with currently.
Yes.
But and pushing through really well. And I think it comes down to, because we are inherently nice people, but I want you to define in your own words, why do you think Tulsa should be a place that people pay attention to?
Authenticity. That's probably the best thing I can come up with. I mean, the people in this city aren't trying to be anything. We aren't trying to fit niches. We aren't trying to fill voids. We're people who enjoy what we do. And we're in people. I mean, one of the nice things about being a flyover state is the overhead's very low to operate in this city.
It's awesome.
So while we are all chasing money because we live in America, and ultimately that is what we do here. Yeah, everyone's got to pay your bills. I mean, you don't exist without paying your bills. But our overhead is low enough that we don't have to sell out necessarily to do what we want to do. We can kind of chase passion projects. I mean, even to the point that, like, there's enough work in this city that you can take on a second job that will give you some passive income that will allow you to chase your dreams, allow you to do what you want to do. And I can't think of a single restaurant in this city or brewery in this city that is outright just chasing dollars. Everyone is just, we're having fun. We're having fun. We're having fun taking care of people. We're having fun in, making our product. I mean, a little tangent. The other day on Facebook, a buddy of mine posted something about, if you go to a restaurant and you see a chef special, is that really just the chef trying to get rid of excess product? And I commented on there. I was like, no.
Absolutely not.
I mean, sure, sometimes.
Why would you even think that?
Sometimes it's a garbage barrel. But I mean, ultimately, what you're going to see your garbage food going into is fried rices and quiches and things that you can hide product in.
But even if you're trying to get rid of it, you're coming up with a creative dish
to
try.
I mean,
right?
and go around town and just buy chef specials. I mean, there are so many. I mean, this is only episode 5, and you've already had 2 or 3 of the most creative minds in the fucking culinary world.
Yeah.
In this
the stuff that Colin is doing at Vintage, like we didn't go on the 14th, like we said we were going to that dinner.
Sorry, Colin.
Yeah, I know. But maybe we can go the Saturday after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
24th, right?
Or Saturday before Thanksgiving. Is that this
We'll look it up.
Yeah, we'll look it up. Yeah. But I mean,
and what they're doing over there at Hemingway.
Yeah.
I mean,
the stuff Tack brought. That fucking steak.
I'm not gonna lie. Whenever I told him, I told my wife, it's like, so Tack was on here a couple weeks ago and he brought a 45-day aged ribeye. I'm bringing some pork belly. I'm always slightly embarrassed.
Dude, that pork belly though. We talked about it when you went away because we went over there and ate more. Yeah.
No, go for it. Go for it. It's just
the flash fried, the texture difference, and
it makes it wild. I mean, there's so much good food here, and we have access to some of the most fresh beef and produce in the world. And it's just, I mean, you start chasing seasonal chefs like Kevin Snell. I mean, oh my God.
Yep. He'll be on soon. Jason from Prairie Creek Farm will be on soon because Trey from Grassroots Larder and Grassroots
Bat
Ranch and
Farm Bar.
I want Matt to come on from Orin. I want Lisa to come on from Farm Bar.
There's so much good food in the city of people just chasing flavor and just having fun with it.
You want to know this? I don't know even if this is true or not, but what Kat is doing at Farm Bar with fucking bread.
I have no idea.
Dude, she puts like porridge in bread.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so you're eating this bread that is, for those of you who don't like this word, grow the fuck up, moist and wet and like, but it's fucking unlike anything you've ever had, but it's bread.
And they're right there in the old 1740 spot. If you don't go to the actual farm, and it's
out in what, Depew? Is that right?
I think.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I'm sorry. I think it's Depew.
I think it is.
I think it is. Well, we're gonna run with that. It's in Depew, and if
you
it's
guys
not,
keep talking, I'm gonna Google
if it's not in Depew, you guys need to move to Depew to make this work.
That's also a fun word to say.
Depew.
It is Depew, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
198 South 481st West Avenue. I thought our streets were
481st.
Jesus.
So
Depew,
just a
Oklahoma.
few miles away.
Yeah, just a few.
Just over the river.
All right, so before we go, tell everybody your hours when they can come see you.
High Dive Tulsa, we're open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Saturday. 3 p.m. we close Tuesday through Thursday, so it's lunch only Tuesday through Thursday, lunch and dinner Friday and Saturday. However, being barbecue, when it's gone, it's gone. So if you want to come in, call me, make reservations. It's a small space. If you call in Thursday and say you're coming in Friday night, I will make sure you get fed.
There you go.
But if you just show up on a whim, I will do my absolute best. You might not get brisket, you might not get burn-ins. There's a decent chance you get pork belly,
which is delicious.
I always cook lots. I mentioned before I always cool the pork belly, so I always have that on hand as one of those sort of crowd pleasers. At the very least, I can give you a pile of pork belly and some chips and salsa, and you'll leave there with a meal.
Call it the tasting room special.
The tasting. I'm actually.
There we go.
Check the menu.
Heard.
That
was a kitchen
tasting
heard.
Check the menu. Heard.
Cheers,
Tasting room
Nick.
special.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Nick.
We'll be right back after the break. And that is Nick Corcoran.
Man, that was such a fun conversation.
Dude, this beer was spectacular.
Yeah.
You know what it reminded me of, and I hope you take this as a compliment. It reminded me of the Jester King.
Oh, wow. That's a very big compliment.
Yeah, it really
Thank
did.
you very much.
It really did.
Yeah.
It was delicious.
Yeah. And, within that, we were trying to strive to tell two different stories within one recipe. And I think that we did a really great job because we released the unaged version first.
Sooner.
And then released the barrel-aged version later.
I like that.
And really got to showcase what barrels do to beer and also what yeast will do to the recipe itself. So,
that's awesome.
Really fun story, but also really great conversation.
Absolutely.
With Nick.
I was going to say, what also was fun in this was not only the beer and the bourbon or the rye whiskey and the food, but just the conversation and hearing someone say that he feels like Oklahomans and Tulsans are afraid to brag on themselves, to market themselves. Like I'm here to fix that. Like that has to be fixed.
Let's get at it, Oklahomans.
Right. I mean,
let's do it.
Come on.
We're not just okay.
There you go.
We're better than that.
Not just a flyover state.
Yeah, we're not a flyover state. We're a place to come, stay, have a good time. Yeah. Actually, Lisa and I just went down to Tallahena and the Foliage Drive on Highway 1.
How was that?
That would be north of the Kiamichi Mountains and the Ouachita Mountains.
Okay.
That was awesome.
You went at the right time because the leaves so the tree in front of my house was beautiful red for the last 2 weeks, maybe.
Oh, I bet it's all barren now.
Like yesterday I walked the dogs and there were red leaves. Today I pulled up and the wind was so strong and it was that time.
Gone.
It's gone.
Yeah.
It's a winter looking tree.
We fortunately found that drive at the exact right moment.
Yeah.
But if you guys haven't been to High Dive, it's barbecue,
really good.
That fusion of styles, their pickles, their wontons.
Yeah, the wonton chips are
Those are really good. He says that they're not smoked.
But the salsa smoked, and then the things that they cook in the oil are
smoked.
off the hasty bake. So in a way, they're like third degree smoked or whatever.
Inherently
yeah.
smoked.
Yeah. Like your second cousin, they're like second smoked or whatever.
Right. That's smoked once removed.
There you go. Thank you. I was going to say second smoked does not sound right. Smoked once removed. There you go. I like that. So we had fun on this one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Tune in next week-ish for the next guest who will be named later. We're not going to spoil it.
Well, yeah, just keep him on a cliffhanger, right?
Exactly.
That's what we do. This isn't necessarily TV, but
Close enough.
yeah.
I got a little beer left. Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers.
Good show.
Good
See
show.
you guys next time.
Thank you very much.
Take care.